Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to teach you how to play Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue. Fantastic song, really good for beginners because you've got some good key skills during the song. So you've got some hammer-ons, you've got some pull-offs, you've got playing with a tremolo bar a bit, unison bends, things like that. So it's really good to learn, to master, to practice, to really conquer the key skills and techniques. So the song is played in E standard, and how it starts is you've got an open A string and you play it 3 times. You then follow that up by a C5 power chord which you let ring. Now the C5 power chord is played on the 5th fret, D and G string. So it's 3 opens, C5. You let that ring. And while that's ringing, use the edge of your pick and you scrape along the top string of your guitar. Now that sounds pretty horrible, but when it's amplified it's a really cool effect. So this is what it should sound like. So what you want to do is you want to scrape your pick along the top, but stop when the pitch before the pitch starts to dip. And what you want to do then is slide down the fretboard with your other hand. It doesn't matter really which fret you start on as long as it's a high one. So I'll amplify that for you to hear. And what it does is does that in between each of the chords I'm going to show you. So it replaces the open A 3 times, C5 ring, that's when you pick, when you scrape and slide. Then all he does is play the same on the A string, open 3 times. Instead of the C5 he plays a D5. So all you've done is move up 2 frets on the D and G string, so you're playing the 7th fret, D and G, or D5. Then you pick and scrape, and then you just repeat. C5, pick, scrape and slide, and then the D5. Scrape and slide. That's the start of the intro. It continues, and the next part is the same as the verse, so it makes learning so much easier. So what he does, goes back to play open 3 times on the A string, and he plays a C5. Instead of letting it ring, scraping and sliding, what he does is he bends it slightly and then stops. So instead of sounding like this, sound like this. What he does is slides to D5, so 7th fret, is exactly the same. Down to C5. That's what he does. And he plays C5, D5, C5. This is how it should sound. Then what he does is start to use the hammer-ons. So on the A string, you hammer-ons from the 5th fret to the 7th. Just for once. Then he moves down a string, so he goes to the D string. Same frets, so 5th to 7th. So far what we've done is this. And then just change it up a bit. He does reverse on the G string. So it's 7-5. If you can get a pinched harmonic on the 5th fret, G string, it sounds really good. So this is how that bit goes. What you want to do is just practice that bit, build up the speed so you can do it as quick as Mick. So that part goes like this. but without the error. So that's that bit. So far we've done the intro and the verse. Now I'm sure you all know the intro has bends in it as well, so that's what we'll move on to next. So you'd start on the B string, and you start at the 13th fret of the B. So it's a C note, and that's going to be the root note of the bend. So then you'd bend with the G string on the 15th fret. And you do that once. What you want to do is kind of bounce the notes. So when you get up, pull the string down a bit and go back up again. This is what I mean. I'll amplify it for you to hear better. You just want to do that in time to the music. You only need to do it once. And then what you need to do, once you've played that one, is slide down 1 fret. So your root note's now a B. So 12th fret on the B string and 14th fret on the G. Let's play that once with a bounce. And then you go down to play your root note's A. So it's the 10th fret on the B string, 12th on the G string. But instead of that bouncing once, you should do about 3 times. So this is how it should sound in the first part. Then what we do is go back to where they started. So root note is C again on the B string. So that's G string, it's 15th fret. Play that once with the bounce, and instead of sliding down 1 fret, what they do is move up 2 frets. So you're now on the B string, 15th fret, G string, 17th fret. You let that bounce once before going back to where we ended last time. So that's on the B string, 10th fret, G string, 15th fret. You'd bounce that 3 times again. Let's view some bends. Once they're finished, you then go into the chorus. The chorus is actually only made up of 5 power chords. You've got the D5, C5, and A5. So the D5, we start off on the A string 5th fret, D string 7th fret. You play that once. And you slide to do a G5 power chord. So that's on the A string 3rd fret, D string 5th fret. Play that once. Then you play the A5 power chord. So that's open A string, 2nd fret D, 2nd fret G. And you play that 3 times. So far, all we've done is this. What we do is just go back. So you go back to the G5 power chord, you play that once. Go back again to the D5, you play that twice. Slide forward again to the C5, play once. And finish on the A5, you play once. So this is how it should go. You play the A5 once, C5 once. D5 once, C5 once, A5 3 times, C5 once, D5 twice, C5 once, A5 once. This is how it should sound. What you do is the last note you play, which is the A5 power chord, you don't let it ring, you just shut it off. So what we do in the chorus is we play that 3 times. The 4th time we change it ever so slightly. So it goes like this. Now instead of continuing, they stay with the C5. So after the A5 3 times, you move to the C5. You play that once. Then what you do is you use the A string 3rd fret, you play the power chord, then you play the A string once. Then you move on to play the C5 chord, as I showed you earlier. So it's 5th fret, D and G string. Play them two together and return to the 3rd fret A string. So all they've done is play the power chord as normal, A string, G5, C5 chord to return to the A. That's the first half. The second half is easier. You slide down from the 3rd fret A string to 2nd fret A string, play twice. Now, what you want to then do is play the 3rd fret on the B string, open G, and then return to play once the A string 2nd fret. So the second part goes like this. So all together. That finishes the chorus. So far we've learned the intro, the unison bends, the verse and the chorus, which only leaves two things left to learn. The solo and the kind of breakdown outro riff, which is one of my favourite riffs. It's really cool. So we'll move swiftly on to the solo. And what we do is we start off with 3 bends, much like with the intro. So we start off B string is the 10th fret and the G string is the 12th. So you play that once. Then before when you move, slide down 1 fret. So you bend to make an F sharp. So it's G string 12th, you move down to 11th. When you slide down twice to go to the 9th fret. And at this point the B string should be on the 7th fret. Now what Mick does, he goes a bit crazy and decides to hammer on and pull off and play around on treble bar a bit. So you anchor on the B string, 12th fret, and you hammer on and pull off on the 15th fret. And while you're doing that, just to play with the tremolo bar, so pull up, bring it down, and it makes some really cool effects. So this is what it should sound like. So he does that for a bit before finishing off with 3 bends. So what he does, he plays the B string on the 8th fret and the G string is on the 10th fret. Then he slides down to play the G string bending on the 7th fret while the B string is anchoring on the 10th fret. Play that once, and then it slides all the way down to the 2nd fret G string. And that's the only string he bends with no anchoring point, and he bends that, plays it 3 times, releases it and pulls it off for a open G. go straight back into the chorus. And that's the solo, which is nice and easy, but it just sounds really good. Speaking of sounding really good, this is the outro, the changing riff. And what we do is, because it's just so simple, it just sounds so good. You'd play the A string open 3 times, and then you'd play the 4th fret on the D and G. But what you want to do is when you play it, slide up to the C5 chord, like that. Then when you're on the C5, play the open A 5 times, and then you play the C5, slide up to the D5. So 4th fret D and G, to slide to the 5th fret, to then slide to the 7th fret. So this is what it should sound like. What we do, so 4th, 5th, 7th, to return to the 4th, to slide to the 5th again. Then it's the same hammer-ons as in the verse. So it should sound like this. As you can see, I need to practice myself. And that is the outro riff. And we just keep playing that, and then the bends come back in. It's the exact same bends as I taught you early on, because it's the intro bends. And that is the song. It is in its entirety. So go practice, learn. It's such a good song to play. And once you're not as rusty as I am, once you've played it quite a few times, it's so much fun to play along to. So I should be back maybe in a week or so, maybe teach you a bit of Metallica. So that's it for now. So have fun learning, and hopefully you've enjoyed my video. Goodbye.